Hi, everybody. Welcome. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, those of you who are connecting live. Great to be with you all again. Thanks for joining us this week for our session, which this week it is all about that secret ingredient that is robbing you of your smooth and silky skin, and that may also be contributing an unwanted kilo or two to your body. It could also be responsible for making you feel anxious or even angry. No, by now I'm sure we all know what is this ingredient that we're talking about, right? It's included in almost every food that you eat. It is that S word, yes, sugar, right? So once again, welcome to everybody who's joining us. My name is Mary, and we're here together with Ivana and with our Ayurvedic expert, Vaidya Chaitanya, who's going to be sharing with us today all around the facts and myths around sugar. Right, Ivana?
Thank you, Mary. Hi, everyone. Good to see you again. Yes, that's right. We also have a challenge that we want to set you this week, which will help you to understand your relationship with sugar. But before we do that, let's learn more about sugar from our Ayurvedic Vaidya Chaitanya. Chaitanya, can you start off by telling us which sugars we should be eliminating completely from our diet?
It is not possible to eliminate sugars completely from our nutrition because whatever you eat, there is some amount of carbohydrates in that food, and it is needed for the functioning of the body, especially whenever food is digested. The form of energy that is formed is actually considered a source of sugar. So therefore, the idea of going absolutely sugar-free is not sustainable in long run. But the most important decision you have to make when you decide to go sugar-free is to cut down on all processed sugars. Eating any kind of food in its natural format without much industrialization is a good decision to begin with. So the first thing that you have to do is all kinds of processed sugars need to go out of your eating behaviors, and try not to replace it with so-called packaged sugar-free products, because this whole idea of sugar-free products that comes in a package is again a sugar product, a sugar-based product being just marketed in a different style. So do not blindly trust products that say sugar-free. You have to turn the package around and read what other forms of sugar are there in that product. Yeah. So the best way to cut down sugar is to actually reduce the amount of packaged food you buy at home, be it a sweet product, be it so-called healthy product, be it a snack, whatever. So it's good to begin there. And before beginning, it's very important to identify how much sugar do you take. By sugar, I mean processed sugar. You have to study, okay, what is my weekly processed sugar intake? And what are my replacement options of sugar? How much am I dependent on sugar? So this is the first thing we have to do. And based on the information we have about ourselves, we can decide on a short-term goal of 1 week of how much can we bring it down without struggle. You need not go absolutely sugar-free from tomorrow morning. That's difficult. So you can just see, okay, what are the natural sources of products that I can replace it with, and maybe skip one meal or one snack where I am taking a sugar-based product.
That's great. So actually, when we speak about being sugar-free, it means cutting down sugar, because as you mentioned, it's impossible to be completely sugar-free. That's I think, new information for many. So are there any sugars that are actually good for us?
I would say a sweetener, any sweetener you use, it's almost the same. Like there's some people who instead of white sugar goes for something like molasses sugar, or maybe stevia syrup or maple syrup or even honey. All those kind of sweeteners have similar properties. When used in excess, it is dangerous. But white sugar is the most dangerous because of the amount of chemical processes that it undergoes. And there are sugars like honey that has undergone very little chemical processing, uh, when you source it right, when you source it organic. Yeah. So in comparison, you can use, for example, honey. If the ingredient is not very hot, you can use honey a little bit, or you can go for coconut blossom sugar, very little, very minimum, like taking it just for the sweetening effect of it. So in fact, all sweeteners are very similar in properties. It's just that the less processed it is, the less dangerous it can be. Okay, so there is no solution for what is the best kind of sugar that gives you the sweetened effect, the sweetened high, at the same time is not dangerous. There is no such sweetener. So whatever you're using as a sweetener, quit white sugar for sure. But any other sweetener that you're using, ensure that it's not heavily processed, that it's organic, and use it very minimum in your food, knowing that, okay, by switching a sweetener, I'm not doing anything great. Yeah, so don't be under the illusion that, oh, I'm going absolutely sugar free, I'm only having stevia or honey or whatever. No, a sweetener is a sweetener, and it's not the main ingredient in your food. So definitely it has to be just there as a sweetener. Now, if you think of, okay, other than a specific sweetener, what kind of sweetness can I give to food? So there you have dates, for example, which is a naturally sweetened dry fruit. So in recipes where you're baking, you can actually use paste of date, freshly blended paste of date, so that the sweetness is there, but it is not coming from an external sweetening agent. So there are fruits, fresh and dry, which are dominant in sweetness. So they can be used for handling your sugar cravings, where they are much lesser troublesome than compared to an actual sweetener. So for example, banana, if you're using banana in baking, you know that the baked product will have a nice aroma. It has that mild, uh, very delicious flavor of sweetness, which is not overwhelming. Similarly with dates, similarly with raisins. So definitely you can use a sweet, fresh or dry fruit in any form of preparation, starting from a fresh juice to a baked good or to a pudding, where you have that sweetening flavor, but it's not overwhelming. That is the second method of switching from a sweetener based sugar to sweet eating, but less problematic. Okay. Then the next third part is to know that sweet is a healthy taste. Most foods in the world have sweet as a taste. In Sanskrit, we call it madhura. That's the taste that provides energy. That is the taste that provides nourishment to the body. Not bitter, not salty, not chilly, not astringent. You cannot take these other tastes and feel the nourishment and energy. Imagine eating 3 chilies and working. No, isn't it? Yeah, whereas you can function if you have had a bar of sweet chocolate, isn't it? Yeah. So therefore, remember that in your grains, in your vegetables, in your lentils, beans, there is sweetness present in that. It could be the first taste of the food. It could be the aftertaste of the food. So a lot of your sugar cravings will come down if you are having made from scratch natural foods from the farm directly to your plate without too much chemical processing of it. Because the moment your natural sweet based food goes into your tummy, provides energy, then a lot of other cravings on sweetened sugars can be brought into control. So that's a third aspect you have to remember, which simply means that if you are on a low carb diet or a high keto diet, which is in long run unsustainable, and studies are coming up showing that. So if you are on a super low carb diet, then again your sugar craving can go out of hand. So therefore, you need to adapt to a sustainable carbohydrate balanced eating so that your sugar craving can eventually come down. The fourth factor you have to balance when you're thinking of going sugar free is to watch on your stress levels. Because if you're super stressed, you will navigate to the direction of sugars and caffeines. Yeah, or high salt food or high fat food. So all HFSS, high fat, high sugar, high salt food is something that will call your brain. So therefore, it's very important to work on your stress levels, not through the mechanism of eating, but through other stress busting techniques. So these are the four things you can keep in mind when you're planning to go sugar free rather than just stopping eating sugar from tomorrow morning. I hope this helps.
Wow, that's another level. You know, all these products, cookies that say sugar-free, actually from this point of view are almost the same as the, let's say, regular ones. Yeah, this is amazing. So Chaitanya, what impact does sugar have on our body?
If it's a natural sugar, which I was saying that most foods in the regular form of consumption, which it contains, then it gives you energy, it nourishes your body tissues. But when it comes to processed sugars, all those foods that come in a packaged format with a long shelf life, those products or the products which says sugar free, fat free, this free, that free, something else free, all those things that specifically claim is a tricky way of adding sugar into the processing. Those kind of foods, which usually come under the category of high fat, high sugar, high salt, or highly refined foods, they will not nourish your system. Rather, they will start depleting each tissue health. So this processed sugar is just getting stored in the body. It makes you addictive towards it. It starts reducing your attention span, your ability to receive information, analyze it, your ability to be relaxed. All this goes down. Your ability for memory retention, your physical strength, your muscle tonicity, then all the metabolic activities of your organs, it all gets compromised if you are dependent on sugar. It is as dangerous an addiction like any other addictive material. Okay, so sugar, if a good thing is overdone, then it sends your system into a persistent hyperactive mode. And something that's not able to switch off starts degenerating faster. So that's what sugar does to you. It does so much acceleration into each tissue in the system that eventually it therefore promotes faster degeneration or degradation of tissue health. And it does so much damage to the brain, about which you can in fact read articles. There's immense literature available in the internet where sugar actually damages nervous system than any other tissue. Okay, so and when we use the word sugar, it is the processed sugar that we're talking about, processed forms of sugar. Yeah, we're not talking about natural wholesome sugar here.
That's very useful information. And actually, Jakub wrote a question earlier. Is sugar really as addicting as some heavy drugs? You just mentioned it now that it's a lot. So maybe can you throw some light on this?
Processed sugar is, but the difference is when you talk about drugs, the kind of psychedelic effect it gives to your system. Now, some drugs are uppers, some are downers. So that kind of hallucinatory phase will not be provided by sugar. Otherwise, it was so easy for everyone. Just go to the store, grab some white sugar, eat it, and sit in bliss. That's not happening, no? But sugar sends your body into that hyper performance mode. So, in comparison to a narcotic drug, yes, sugar does not give that kind of an effect in the system, but it is a dangerous ingredient to be dependent on. Even though the symptoms are not similar to a narcotic drug, the addiction that it creates to your nervous system into this pushed persistent hyperactivity is what processed sugar can do. And the interesting aspect is we do not uh, realize that we are overdoing the consumption of processed sugars, whereas there's a limit that you can take one narcotic drug at one given point of time. You know that you can easily die of overdose, whereas in sugar you can continuously eat truckloads and not know it, only till the day your blood reports come claiming that okay, you are on borderline disorders and that your body is highly filled with sugar and it's degenerating, it's putrefying. Only then we realize, oh, so much has happened, because processed sugar can mimic the job of a natural sugar. So in fact you feel good, but you're not realizing that it's a trap. I hope this answer helps.
Wow, it's really not easy to listen to this, because it's so widespread, the consummation of sugar nowadays, and as you're saying, it's a subtle threat that many people are not aware. So these days we hear a lot about sugar spikes and keeping our glucose levels stable. What advice can you offer on that?
Well, if you are controlling processed sugar intake, and you have, that's number one. Number two, if you have a very stable eating behavior time wise, that means you should not keep up with erratic eating timelines. So if you have a very stable timeline of consuming food which is in relation with the circadian rhythm, and the third factor is that if you're watchful of the kind of content that you're consuming without being on extreme diet plans, all these fad diets won't do good in long run. So if you're watching these three things, plus if you are into regular stable fitness habits, then you can control sugar spikes to a great extent. This is for a healthy person. And if it's already a diabetic condition that you have, then you will need an expert to guide you how to control your sugar spikes. But for a regular person, as long as your sugar input is not out of your control and you're using physical activities to utilize this energy that you have from good sugars, then you can control your spikes. The basic simple baseline would be, do not confuse your body with erratic sugar input and sugar output activities. If you build a discipline around input and output of energy, then your body will also maintain a regular range of sugar metabolism rather than spiking up in.
Thank you so much, Chaitanya, for the valuable, very valuable inputs, which brings us to our challenge for this week that we mentioned already, which is to help everyone firstly to understand their relationship with sugar. Can you tell us a bit about what you recommend as the first step, Vaidya, Chaitanya?
First step is to identify how much processed sugar do you take in a day. That's the first thing. So just go home and check all the packaged products that you're eating. Even if it's sugar free, just turn it around and study all the ingredients in it. Most products that claims to be sugar free are loaded with processed sugar. So just check all the products that you are consuming and see if you can replace it with a different ingredient. For example, if you are into snacking a lot of cookies and cakes regularly, then try to take a fruit instead, or a soaked dry fruit instead, or see, why do you need to snack? Is it because that you are a very active energy output person, or is it because your breakfast, lunch, dinner habits are not sustainable, quantity wise, time wise, or quality wise? So first of all, study what is the reason for so much sugar intake. Are you trying to psychologically compensate your difficulties with sugar, or is your body into a craving disorder of sugar, or is it because your eating habits are not sustainable that you navigate to sugar? So first is this deep study of how dependent am I to sugar? How much is sugar controlling my life? That's the first step, to identify the strengths of your enemy in this case. Then is second step is you identify your weaknesses. Where are the areas that sugar is easily jumping in? And what are the vacuum that sugar is trying to fill in your life? That's the second step. So I think in half an hour, you'll be able to get a entire trajectory of you and your sugar relationship. And like I said, the next thing is to start, first of all, replacing, finding better alternatives of natural foods that will help you handle this. The next step is, if in case you cannot balance it, you need to take the support of an expert to see what kind of food habits do you have which needs certain correction. Like I said, if you're on very high keto and a smoothie, fiber rich diet, then you can get sugar cravings. So you have to correct your eating habits. When you do these things, you will naturally and effortlessly switch to being a sugar-free person, a processed sugar-free person. Yeah. So that's where we start.
That's brilliant, Chaitanya. It's this is such a valuable step actually in our health journey, as we begin to understand what is our relationship with certain foods that are everywhere, but that aren't doing us any favors in terms of our health or beauty. So I really like that we have a soft challenge for our participants, nothing too rigid. So to recap, all you have to do is to first understand your personal habits and relationship with sugar. And then, as Chaitanya was suggesting, try to replace the processed sugar with some healthier options. And then also to see from where this lack or craving is coming. So who's in for the challenge? Mary?
Yes, thank you, Ivana. I'm definitely in for the challenge. Vaidya, Chaitanya, thank you so much for sharing all that knowledge with us today on the facts and myths around sugar as well, and inspiring us to take that first step on our own challenge as well. That's really fantastic. I also really look forward to seeing any comments from all of you who are watching this, whether you watch it live, whether you watch it later. Do let us know how you get on, what are your findings, how has doing this challenge helped you to understand a little bit more about your own relationship with sugar. And of course, next week we'll be back for part 2 of this. So we'll really look forward to seeing you again for that. And also remember, if you are interested in how we can help you also with other health issues that you may be facing, whether it's connected with your physical health, your beauty, or your mind, please just type "tell me more" in the comments below, and someone from our team will reach out to you as soon as they can, and we'll let you know how you can benefit from this ancient system of Ayurveda to help you on your own health journey. So we'll look forward to hearing from you. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today, and we will see you again very soon.
Thank you, Mary. Just I would like to add that we received quite some questions before the live, which we will address in the next session, because now we are running out of time. So please bear with us. We are there for the part 2, and then we can share more on this topic. Thank you.
See you soon.